Before there were banks, before there were stock markets, before the concept of a national economy even existed, there were kings. And the question of how rich a king was always came down to the same 6 things: what he built, what he conquered, what he stole, what he wasted, what he gambled, and what simply vanished. There is no countdown here, only a record. 80 rulers, 4,000 years of history, and the same human patterns playing out across every civilization on Earth. The badge on each card is history's verdict. Queen Puabi of Ur lived 3,000 years before the Roman Empire existed. Her tomb held more gold than any royal grave until Tutankhamun. She ruled 65,000 people, 3 centuries before the pyramids went up. She built. That is where this begins. Croesus of Lydia controlled the gold deposits of Anatolia. He also invented the first standardized coinage, and then used that gold-backed confidence to pick a fight with Persia. The oracle at Delphi told him a great empire would fall. He assumed it meant Persia's. Cyrus the Great inherited everything Croesus gambled away, and added 5 more civilizations to the pile without burning a single city. That restraint worked. Darius turned the Persian treasury into the first global tax state. Alexander then took all of it in 4 years, 180,000 talents of gold, the largest single wealth transfer the ancient world had seen, and he was dead before he could decide what to do with it. Rome absorbed the lesson differently. Augustus Caesar personally owned Egypt, not as its governor, but as private property. He controlled an estimated 1/5 of the known world's gross domestic product, and died in a modest bedroom, having left the treasury fuller than he found it. The pattern was clear by then. The builders tended to last. The gamblers tended not to. Rome then demonstrated what happens when extreme wealth and unchecked power occupy the same person. Caligula inherited a treasury surplus and burned through it in less than a year. Nero built himself a 300-acre palace on land cleared by the fire that destroyed 6 districts of the city. Neither was among the richest Romans. They are on this list because the speed of their destruction is instructive. When no one can refuse the man who controls the treasury disappears. Justinian had a different answer. After 30,000 people died in the Nika riots, he rebuilt Constantinople from the ground up. The Hagia Sophia took 10,000 workers 5 years. It bankrupted 3 consecutive treasury reserves. He called it worth every coin. Here is where most history education fails. The richest rulers of the medieval world were not in Europe and not in the Mediterranean. The greatest concentration of individual wealth in the 14th century sat in West Africa, in the Mali Empire, on the gold fields of Bambouk and Bouré. along rivers that European cartographers would not reach for another 100 years. Sundiata Keita built the empire. Mansa Musa spent it into the history books. Abu Bakr II is the gap, the man the ocean kept. Abu Bakr II assembled 2,000 ships, appointed Mansa Musa in his place, and sailed west into the Atlantic to find the edge of the world. Neither he nor any of those ships came back. Mansa Musa's 1324 pilgrimage to Mecca is the only event in recorded history that single-handedly crashed the gold markets of 3 continents simultaneously. He gave so much away in Cairo that Egyptian merchants spent 12 years recovering from the inflation. Calculations based on Mali's documented gold output put his net worth at around $400 billion. That number is probably wrong. It may be too low. His predecessor gave up that throne voluntarily. Tamerlane built Samarkand into one of the great cities of his era. The labor was forced. The materials were seized. Between the 14th and 18th centuries, the primary mechanism for generating extreme wealth shifted. It moved from trade and agriculture to extraction, the systematic removal of resources from populations that had no power to refuse. Atahualpa, the last independent ruler of the Inca Empire, filled an entire room with gold to buy his freedom. Francisco Pizarro took the gold and executed him anyway. The second room was never delivered. That treasure remains the largest unfound fortune in the Americas. Philip II of Spain received more silver from the New World than any ruler in recorded history. He declared bankruptcy 4 times. He sent the Armada and lost it on the rocks of Ireland and Scotland. He died leaving his empire in debt that took generations to clear. The card reads, gambled. The 17th century was the age of the Builder King, men who understood that visible wealth was itself a form of power. Shah Jahan built the Taj Mahal and then the Red Fort. Tokugawa Ieyasu locked Japan's entire rice economy behind a single family for 265 years. But none of them pressed the logic as far as Louis XIV. Versailles was not a palace. It was a political instrument designed to house, watch, and control the entire French nobility under one roof, while the king spent the equivalent of $300 billion building the walls around them. The tax burden fell on people who had no walls at all. Peter the Great built a city on a swamp and called it a capital. And then there is Nader Shah. His name is barely taught outside Iran and South Asia. In 1739, he sacked Delhi and took the Peacock Throne, the Koh-i-Noor diamond, and 700 million rupees in cash in 57 days. Frederick of Prussia is the counterpoint to Versailles. He seized Silesia from Austria in a surprise invasion, took its iron mines, and used the revenue to build a European power from scratch. Catherine the Great picked up where Peter left off. She expanded Russia south and west, absorbed the Crimea, and spent the revenues on art at a scale that embarrassed every other European court. The collection she assembled is still the core of the Hermitage. She bought entire private galleries at a time, negotiated by letter, and never once paid asking price. The 19th and 20th centuries ended the age of the absolute monarch, but not before producing some of the most concentrated examples of personal wealth accumulation in the historical record. Leopold II personally owned the Congo Free State, separate from Belgium, separate from its government, his alone. His rubber extraction system, enforced through mutilation and documented murder, made him one of the wealthiest men of his century. The Koh-i-Noor, which Nader Shah had taken from Delhi, was later taken by the British from a 10-year-old Maharaja. It now sits in the crown jewels. The Romanov family fortune, estimated at 300 billion in today's values, disappeared between 1917 and 1918. The diamonds sewn into the children's corsets survived the bullets in the Ipatiev house basement. The rest never resurfaced. Mir Osman Ali Khan, the last Nizam of Hyderabad, was named the world's richest man by Time magazine in 1937. His personal treasury held 173 pounds of loose diamonds. He used the 184-carat Jacob diamond as a paperweight. The Indian Army took control of Hyderabad in 1948. And Farouk of Egypt was exiled with 200 suitcases and a personal chef, and still complained it wasn't enough. His card reads, "Wasted." 4,000 years, 80 rulers, 6 verdicts. The builders are still visible. In the temples, the mosques, the aqueducts, the palaces, the ports. The conquered are visible too, in the borders and the languages. What was stolen sits in museums, in crown jewels, in the foundations of fortunes still circulating today. What was wasted is hardest to see. It requires imagining what might have been built instead. The gambled left ruins. The vanished leaves only the question. Where is Abu Bakr's fleet? Where is Montezuma's gold? What is in the Swiss accounts that Haile Selassie never disclosed? The rulers who disappear from the record ask the most uncomfortable questions. They had the wealth, they had the power, and then, nothing.